This is the Criterion Creeps podcast, and tonight we're talking about Tokyo Story from 1953, directed by Yasujiro Ozu. The tagline for this film, RJ, I was surprised that this had a tagline. As long as life goes on, relationships between parents and children will bring boundless joy and endless grief. It's got a ring to it.
It's nice and short. That's what I like about it. It's to the point, Jarrett. It's like, there was other taglines like "In space, no one hear you scream" or anything like that. There's too much.
It's right up there, though. I mean,
yeah, it's right up there.
They tried with that.
Sure, they tried. Yeah. What else do you want? Right?
Yeah, a story beyond the wildest imagination. It was like, hey,
sure.
Boundless joy and endless grief.
Are they talking about their movie or our podcast?
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
That's a slogan for our podcast, right?
100%.
100%.
The synopsis for the film. The elderly Shukishi and his wife Tomi take the long journey from their small seaside village to visit their adult children in Tokyo. Their elder son, Koichi, a doctor, and their daughter, Shiji, a hairdresser, don't have much time to spend with their aged parents, and so it falls to Noriko, the widow of their younger son, who was killed in the war, to keep her in-laws company.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens in this movie.
That is. So this is a movie I watched for the very first time about 5 years ago. I had just started to, I'd heard about this Ozu guy, and I think the first movie of his I watched was Floating Weeds, which will be a future creep. Okay. And I was kind of like, oh, this seems very mannered. I don't know about this. I don't know about this Ozu. I had a feeling. This guy, his name, it's Ozu. I mean, how exciting?
What does that mean?
How exciting is he going to be?
Ivan Ooze was a pretty exciting guy.
Ivan Ooze.
Yeah, and that's kind of close in name, right?
Right. So, I mean, I think when we were talking about that Bresson, talking about Paul Schrader, talking about transcendental film, transcendental cinema, and Ozu was one of those dudes that gets brought up in that context. Him and Dreyer. And I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, I like Japanese cinema, but this Ozu, he's got these movies like Autumn Afternoon, Good Morning. And you're just kind of like, man, wake me up when it's over. So, I mean, but you always hear about Tokyo Story. Tokyo Story seems to be like the top of the pile. And so, you're trying to take these movies off of best of lists that you haven't seen yet. And I'm like, maybe it's time. I'll just knock this Ozu out of the way. Get this over with, and we'll see what's the big deal about Tokyo Story. So, watch that Tokyo Story. And, first half of that movie, when you're watching it that first time, it's a little slow. It's just like, okay, these olds, they're going into the city. They're going to go visit their kids. Great. That's a story as old as time itself.
Sure.
It's that generational gap. And, they're all kind of amused that their grandkids are kind of like little jerks that run away, don't want to spend any time with them. And they just kind of laugh it off politely every single time. And these adult kids living their own lives. They're kind of like, they don't have much time for these people. They're like, oh, they're such an inconvenience. Can't we just pay for them to go away? And maybe we can offload them on our dead brother's widow. Maybe she'll take care of things. She seems to enjoy doing things for the family.
Sure she does.
So you meet these people, and you just kind of see their adventures. I mean, that seems to almost oversell what they get up to, because it seems it's pretty mundane things.
Oh yes.
Eventually we get one of the climaxes is Grandpa gets drunk. He meets up with some buddies. And they get loaded on that sake, and they stumble on home with the help of a policeman. And they're like, their kids are just like, Jesus, Dad, I thought you stopped this. But it's not even in that Alexander Payne sort of American style that this movie would be told. It's very non-judgmental. It's very matter of fact in his presentation. But they go on this little trip. They get sent off to this sort of a spa, and they're like, oh, it's real nice, and they enjoy themselves, but it turns out it's kind of like a real like swinging place for the youthful types. I guess who are like probably banging, whatever.
They're doing what, Jer?
Probably some banging going on.
Okay.
And they can't even get some sleep because there's so much banging and drinking and partying going on. So this was not a very well researched place by their daughter to send them off to. Grandma's getting, she feels a little dizzy. Didn't get enough sleep. Come back. They're like, well, maybe we should head back. And they're like, oh no, you shouldn't be doing that. I mean, you're hardly here. But they don't really want them there at all. They stop on the trip. Mom's not feeling too great. They stop by, visit one of their other kids that kind of lives in between, and then you kind of get to as the movie just keeps building, and this is just like the story stuff because they, Grandma's getting sick. Grandma's not feeling well. Takes a turn for the worst. We don't have cell phones and internet and texting. We got to send it by a telegram. Telegram updates. Critically ill. We find out like all the big moments of this movie are like not presented. We don't get to see
off panel.
Yeah, they're off panel. You don't get to see like them taking the trains. You get to see all these in between you get to see like the interstitial stuff. That's what the story is about. All these big things, like suddenly the drama that would kick in with like, oh, my collapse. It's like, nope, you don't get to see that. You don't get to see anything like that. You don't see spoilers. You don't see Tomi die. It's just one day. It's like, well, there's a little piece of cloth over her face, and everyone's sitting around her. That's it. There's no big moment.
Yeah, I think that's the inspiration to the Junji Ito comic, Tomi, isn't it? That exact play out.
Yes, of course.
Similar, right?
Similar.
Sure, of course. But yeah, you don't see that.
No.
You just come after.
And then it just kind of at this point you get the pile on of just like, oh, these kids of theirs. Some of them are kind of shitty. They're kind of bad people. And then but not everyone's bad. And then even like the people aren't even related to them. They're like way better. They treat them way nicer than their own kids. And then it kind of just goes out on this note. And I mean, the first time I watched Tokyo Story, I was like, that movie's fucking amazing. Why? How is this such a simple movie with this like not much of a story or plot? But it's all about the telling of real life in a way that, and sometimes it doesn't work, but here it works pretty magnificently. And watching this the second time, I had some apprehension. I was like, man, I've been here before. I thought something was like absolutely amazing the first time, and on second watch, it's like, okay, maybe it doesn't work as well. It doesn't like sweep me up as well as it did. But RJ, I'm telling you, it worked the same way for me. This movie's still amazing. In fact, you get to see, because I knew where it's going, all the stuff in the beginning makes so much more sense, and it doesn't seem slow at all. It all is like, oh man, because I know where it's going. Like all the interactions make sense. These characters really do come across as really fleshed out. I mean, you could say that they're like tropes, and there's not a lot of information, but there's a lot of subtlety in those interactions and the way that they behave. Even for the first half, knowing where it ends near the end, I kept thinking like, why did I think the kids were so bad? Like, I mean, but then of course when he gets to that last bit, you're like, oh right, that's why I thought this whole time after watching the movie. Those are the things that stick with you, and watching the movie again, it almost tricks you and kind of wipes you of those thoughts because you're like, what was that? Maybe they're not so bad. They're just people like us. I'm just like them. I could be guilty of this stuff just as they are, being just inconsiderate people. But watching it all over again, boy. It comes all back together again. And I haven't even begun to talk about the absolute beauty of this movie.
Tell me about it.
I don't know if you recall, RJ, from Good Morning, the tatami mat shots where the camera is always at this kind of low angle and it perfectly frames those rooms in this like kind of like perfect geometric forms. The verticals, the horizontals, how like everything is so curated as far as like what people are wearing, how they move through the space. It's so effortless. The movie's look to me like very effortless in how they're presented. It doesn't feel constructed, but it very clearly is like a blocked off composited space. But it doesn't draw itself. It doesn't draw attention to itself like a Wes Anderson movie, which is like impossible spaces that are very cinematic. This feels like very like believable. And I mean, even when the characters are like looking at you, the 180-degree rule is being broken constantly as characters are talking to one another, and they're looking directly at the camera when they're talking to one another. It works. It shouldn't work. And it does. So that the just the costumes, the design, which is all like reminded me of the Good Morning stuff, and like those exterior shots, those are kind of like establishing shots of the outside, those roof lines. There's the one shot in this that I think is like absolutely like amazing, where it's kind of the clothes hangers, like the outside where the clothes are drying off, and there's a shot of them kind of in close up, and then behind that's this hill where Tomi, the grandmother's with her grandson, and it's just like it looks so good. And I mean, knowing where the story's going, there's like kind of this like added sadness of like her saying, "Oh, I wonder if I'll see him grow up," and it's like it's sure it's like kind of over dramatic maybe but it seems like very genuine. And it's like, yeah, people actually do probably think about that. They don't want to talk about it out loud because it's too sad, but there it is. And it's like there's everything in this feels very real. And you have like this very honest conversation between Shukishi and Tomi about like they're like, oh, some grandparents like their grandkids more than their own children. And they're like, oh, how do you feel about that? I think I like my kids more. So do I. And you're like, oh, shit. Like, no one says that, at least in our neck of the woods anyway. It seems like it's like very much, they seem to be like parents overcompensate and try to do a better job with their grandkids than they do with their own children, because the damage is done. It's a do-over, and I can parachute in and out and be like, hey, I'm the awesomest, and then everyone loves grandpa and grandma. In this, it's kind of like it's like maybe these kids are little assholes, and maybe we have too high of expectations. And I would hope, RJ, that you took a screenshot of the kind of the closing conversation back and forth between Noriko and the younger daughter of isn't life unfair, or isn't life disappointing, followed by yes it is.
Yes, it is. I think I have a few of those. I have some interesting screenshots, I would say. So interesting.
I'll hand it off to you, RJ.
Sure.
I think Tokyo Story is a real masterpiece. It is the top shelf Criterion. I think it's so far the best movie we've seen for a while. It's up there with Umberto D. I think it's better than Umberto D. But yeah, this movie is amazing, and I wonder what you thought of this story from Tokyo.
Well, I like that Good Morning.
Yeah. Well,
I like those fart sounds.
See, that's the thing. Is like that movie had those like farts, and that the cutest kid who's ever existed in the world.
Very true. So here's what I'll say to you, Jer. This will be one of those long, like infamous episodes on the YouTube that people will hate me for. And it'll be one of those ones that we butt heads on. Not even butting heads, but I think it's good. But I don't think it's amazing. And just the act of me saying that, I think people are going to attack me on YouTube, and that's fine. Whatever. I like Tokyo Story. I think it's a good show. I understand what they were doing with a lot of it, but at the same time, when I just finished watching it, I was kind of like, I was like, I kind of wanted more from what I've heard about it, because I knew it was the most popular Ozu movie. And then in the excuse me, in the coming days afterwards, I was like, if I had time today, I was gonna watch it again with commentary, because I was like, am I wrong on this? I was like, is it better than I thought it was? I did get to watch actually. I watched one of the follow-ups to this on the Criterion channel. It was like Talking with Ozu, which is not the case. It was like directors talking about Ozu.
Right.
It was like guys like Paul Schrader. It was like, he's like, hello, my name is Paul Schrader. He's like, I am a director. He's like, and I watched Ozu for the first time, and it's just like people talking about how they watched Ozu, and I was like, okay. So I watched that one, and then I watched like a couple of the interview movies, and I was like, okay. I was trying to get a little bit more, Jared, a little bit more. So I think it's good, and there are a few things that I like quite a bit about it, but I also there's something I don't know what it is. There's something that holds me back from like really enjoying it and being invested in it, and that's okay, right? It's all right. It's okay for me to feel like that, right, Jarrett? So here's the thing. You know what this movie reminded me of a lot? Did you ever have a friend that like you'd go to their house and your friend would like get into screaming arguments with their parents and be like, you're dumb idiot, you piece of shit, and then you'd be like, whoa.
Nope.
I'd never talk to my parents like that.
Nope.
Were you that friend?
No.
No? Okay, good. Okay, well,
Who hurt you?
No one hurt me, but I had a friend who was like that. And I remember whenever I'd go over there, I'd be like, it's a pretty mean thing to say to your mom. Like, she just wants to, like, make you happy and stuff. And then I never really understood why he was like that. And then I was watching this one, too, and I was like, I understand the idea about, like, these kids who kind of, like, they're either entitled or they take for granted, like, what their parents like set up for them, and then even like whether it's intentional or not, they just like, I don't know, don't treat their parents with the amount of like care that they receive. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of people out there in the world like that. And I was like, I try not to be. And I was like, and then so I don't know, I don't think that I have like a ideal rainbow of a relationship with any of my family members either, but watching this I was like, yeah, I know there's a ton of people like that, but I was like, I don't think it hits me the same way that it might people who do feel like that, like either say don't connect with their family members or feel alienated from them or things like that, because I feel like that would really get you. And maybe not, maybe you have a family that you all get along really well and you're just like yeah, I've seen people like this in the outside world and that makes me sad, and this movie makes me sad because those people exist, and I get that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I was just watching it and I was just I don't even know what it was. I was like I know that these people are out there and they make me sad, but the movie itself isn't really hitting it yet for me. And maybe it's like you said, when you rewatched it and you saw more of the things kind of leading up to it, maybe that would have hit more for you. But there are things that I like a lot about it, because I actually do like this movie. I just don't think it's the top 5 or anything like that. I would never say that. So there are a lot of things I do like. I like the kind of quiet life aspects to it that you mentioned, where a lot of things happen off screen, and it's like, yeah, I like that because life is quiet. The majority of your life is probably you like kicking around at home, just hanging out and not talking to anyone. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe you're a real wild child. You go out there and do things. But a lot of my life is just hanging out at home and doing things. So I was like, yeah, I like that he kind of focuses on those parts more than like, say, the train or the wife getting sick or the mother getting sick and stuff. I was like, yeah, a life is a lot of those like kind of subdued things because it's how it is. And then I do like how he builds up the treatment of the grandparents to the point where it's like when you see the grandkids and the grandkids like don't want none of it, but then the parents don't really enforce it at all because
neither do the grandparents, like neither do they.
Well, no, but like, so like, say when the grandma wants to take the kids for a walk, it's like, come on for a walk. And then the older kid's like, fuck, I'm not going on a walk with you. And then the mom tries. She's like, you go for a walk. And then she's like, all right. She's like, I tried. I couldn't really do it. And so they kind of like let it go. But it's also reflected on like how the doctor's son had to leave. And the wife was like, maybe you should. He's like, do you got it? It's like, yeah, I got to. So it's got some layers in that sense where it's like the grandparents just want to hang out with all of them, but the kids, the doctor and wife, they have their own things that they have to go to. And then they do that to their kids because the kid is like, this always happens. And then the kids don't want to hang out with the grandparents either. It's it's how life is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Life gets busy, and then that kind of stuff happens. So I do like all of that. I think it gets scaled really well where they kind of build up to it. And then I even like the scene where the grandpa goes out with the his old friends, and the one guy's like, he's like, my kid sucks. He's like, I lie about him all the time. He's like, but to be honest, I'm just kind of disappointed in him. And he's like, yeah, I feel like that's probably a pretty common sentiment too for a lot of people, where say they have kids and you want them to excel to be something else and they don't. And I was like, yeah, I get it. So I like all the things that go into Tokyo Story. And don't get me wrong, Jarrett, I do think it's a good movie, but I don't think it's the masterpiece. And so I will welcome all of my YouTube hate. You can tell me about how I'm wrong. All the people who comment, that's fine. Whatever. I do like it. It's a good show. I just I don't know. Maybe I'll rewatch it one day and I'll get more out of it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
When's this rewatch going to happen?
It should have happened this week with the commentary, but I didn't get it. I don't know. Maybe next Ozu we have, which is in this calendar year. Maybe. I don't know.
Yes. No, it's fine. I mean, like, it's like I said, like, it's a movie that I like. I just think it's, for what all of it's doing, it's so well done. Like, for this, it's for such a simple story, the way it's told, I don't think there's any fault with it at all. Like, watching it again, I was like, this movie is like pretty perfect. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes for me. It just blew by. Like, I honestly just like, I was like, huh, that's like, so it's such a breath of fresh air to watch something that, like, I'm not like checking my watch and going, oh, another hour to go. Oh, 50 minutes to go. I was just kind of like, oh, good. Like, I was into it. Like, I was very much caught up in the story. And there's not much of a story. It's just like, I loved watching the movie as a movie. And just like, there's always something like, there's no blown shots. Like, it's always like, oh, hey, it's just a room with people talking. Or like, the probably the worst person in the story is the oldest daughter, the hairdresser.
Oh yeah.
Because there's like the scene where like her parents come in and they're like, oh, who's that? To like a client asks, who are those people? And they're like, oh, they're friends from the country. And it's like, wow, that's like, what?
She sucks.
Like, that's a pretty horrible thing. And of course, she's the family member who's like the one that like, oh, I really want that that clothing of my dead mother. Can you go grab that before we leave? And it's like, well, we came out here for the funeral. Time to go. We got to be back by the end of the day. Like, we have to leave. Like, there's no putting life on pause. And then, I mean, you have the because it's Kyoko, who is the youngest daughter, who's still living with the parents and basically taking care of them. And I guess she's a school teacher, I believe, because at the very end, like at the very end, you see her kind of looking over. So she's like probably like fairly young and basically just hasn't married or anything like that. Has kind of taken on the role in the family of the one that's going to look after them, because Kaizo, the young son, he's like a mechanic, or he works at the train station or something like that, and so he's like he's got to leave too, but he's like, well, maybe I can hang around. But as soon as the other siblings are leaving, he's like, oh yeah, no, I gotta catch that baseball game, and they're just like leaving their dad behind. And when you're left with the like the very last scene of this movie, I think is just like so like low key, because I don't know, a lot of it's always hard to say, like, when watching a foreign language movie, how good acting actually is. I know some people pretend like they really know when they see it, but I don't. But there's like this scene where Tsuchichi, he's like kind of like just sitting there by himself, and like one of the neighbors stops by, and they're like, oh man, you're gonna have a lot of time. Like, it's gonna be really lonely.
It's so lonely.
It's gonna be really lonely. He's like, yeah, I think the days are gonna get a lot longer now. And then they're like, oh well, talk to you later. And then she leaves, and then there's this shot of him, and he's just like looks off, and he's not like doing anything other than like looking off into the distance, and you see his like Adam's apple like do this big long gulpy swallow, and that's it. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, that is so sad. That's like way worse than like, I don't know, like as far as like, oh, that really gets it across. being in that situation. And the movie's like not like trying to hang or labor that point of like that. There's other movies that do that. Mm-hmm. But this is just like, nope, it's just another step in the life. I mean, you don't even see the death part. You just see like the aftermath, and he's just like all smiles still. And there's a lot of that that Japanese politeness. That's the smile, but it's like masking this sadness underneath that I think pops up a lot in their writing and literature, and in the movies. It's like this is a movie that's like dealing with that pretty directly in a way that a lot of movies don't. And so one other thing too with this is this movie is actually kind of a remake of the.
I saw that,
yeah,
but I couldn't find the original. Well, I looked.
It wasn't on the Criterion channel.
Was it?
Well, it is a Criterion Creep down the road.
Oh, it's down the road?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad I didn't watch it then.
Yeah.
Never mind. That's when I'll rewatch Tokyo Story.
Yeah, it's Make Way for Tomorrow by Leo McCarey from 1937. It's an American movie. And it's like it's got a Seth cover, which is one of the reasons I did buy it. I've seen some people really enjoy it. I think it's okay. I don't think it's near as masterful as Tokyo Story, but it's the same idea of kind of like unappreciative kids and an old couple that are just kind of making their way through life. And I don't know. I'm
glad you like this movie a lot.
Yeah, no, I really do love it. I think it's the best Ozu movie. What's coming up next for him? That will be. I think Floating Weeds is the next one, and I think that one is okay. Some people think that's like also like just as good, but like Late Spring. Actually, that's really I honestly haven't watched as many as I thought I had. But yeah, Late Spring's amazing. Good Morning, really enjoyed that. And then like I haven't seen like Autumn Afternoon yet, but I look longingly over at my Blu-ray of it. And there's like another of his old movies just came out too recently on Blu-ray, I think, just from Criterion. So there's no stopping that Ozu train.
Did he do Fast and the Furious 8 or was it 9?
I'm not sure.
It's one of those later ones, right?
Yeah. Well, he's working from heaven.
Of course. Who isn't?
Yeah.
Who isn't? No, I'm glad that you like it, because even though I don't think it's as amazing as you do, I don't get agitated that someone else likes something that I don't like as much as them. You know what I mean, Jared? YouTube people. No, I am actually glad that you like it. I do think it's a good movie. It's just I don't know. I wanted to like it more than I did, and after I watched it, I was like, I feel like I should have liked that more. For whatever reason, I didn't. Maybe I'm just in a funk. You ever get in a funk, Jer?
I feel like I am in a funk always.
Oh, so and then this was one of the high points for you. You're like, oh, something I know and I like.
Yeah.
Oh, what can I watch to get out of a funk?
Well, I mean, it's going to be Friday the 13th next week.
Ooh. Or as people recommend all the time, maybe I should just watch American Sniper. If Tokyo Story isn't what's for me, maybe that is.
Who are you hanging out with over there?
People who comment on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
No,
it's more your speed. It's more
my speed. No, it's good. Like, I do think it's a good show. I do like the build up for how they kind of layer they build up to all those things, and I do really like the sentiment of people that like connect more to non-family members, like the daughter-in-law, and how like they kind of like take her in, and she's more appreciative of it, because it is easy to lose sight of what's important, right, Jer? Right, Jer? It's easy to lose sight of that sometimes, and then when you have someone with maybe a pair of fresh eyes, it's new again or something like that, but it doesn't come with some of the other baggage, especially like kids and parents, right? Because kids, they go in that weird wave where they love parents and then they hate parents, and then they're maybe friends with their parents afterwards. But it's like, sometimes parents, they can't be friends. They got to be parents, right, Chair? And that doesn't make the best friend.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
It is very true.
And then they grow resentful of it. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I get you, Ozu. I wish I was really trying, like, other than the full movie with the commentary, I wanted to watch more stuff about this movie, but a lot of it was like stuff I didn't want to watch, like on the Criterion channel. Like it was there was the ones I did watch was Talking with Ozu, which was nothing. It was just directors talking about what they thought of Ozu and then like their own movies kind of like selfishly, and I was like, all right, whatever. And then I watched like a 4-minute video of some Jamaican guy talking about this movie, and it was really nice because he was talking about like how he related to it, and I was like, oh, I wish I had that experience watching this movie. But then the other ones, I was like, one of them was, it was like an hour-long documentary about the guy who played the old grandpa, and I was like, it's like I don't really feel like watching that, you know. Jared?
Don't blame me on that one.
Yeah, so I really just wanted something with Ozu himself, but even the commentary was like, I don't know, whoever wrote the essay or something like that. It was a name I didn't recognize. I was like, yeah.
I wonder.
Yeah. It was.
I do have this bad boy on Blu-ray, but I did not really delve into those supplementals.
I think there's 2 commentary tracks. So there was, I think one was the daughter-in-law, like her commentary, and then one was some just like a random guy.
Audio commentary featuring Yasujiro Ozu scholar David Desser, editor of Ozu's Tokyo Story.
Scholar, they say.
Yeah, we're like scholars too, right?
I think I could do a really good commentary for like some kind of fart movie.
Like Good Morning.
Like Good Morning. I would love to do a commentary for Good Morning. So, and like that's where it falls with me. I liked Good Morning more, but I do see the merit of Tokyo Story. I think it's a good show. I just wish I liked it more. That's all.
Well, you want to hear from some people who hated Tokyo Story?
How could you hate it though, you know? Like, how could you?
Well, Gotsen Damerung gave it half a star 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Boring, politically correct, statist bullshit playing on the emotions of the involuted fool. Involuted? Yeah.
What? That's so weird. What do they mean by politically correct?
Because it's so square, man.
So here's Goatsing Damerungs from Montreal, apparently. Here's their bio, Jarrett. Stendhal syndrome, here I come. And then they have what all their stars mean. And number 2, 2 stars means lesbian porn featuring Mother Teresa.
Sick, man. I can feel the state collapsing.
It's happening. But they gave 5 stars to Split, a movie that you like quite a bit. Fight Club, Lucy, boy. Come on, Cube. I know there's other good movies in here too, but this person, not a good person, Jarrett. All their half stars are like, they look like shorts, like just short films from the 1800s. Oh, why would you give that a half a star? It's a short film from 1891 from William K.L. Dixon. It's a minute long. There's a bunch of them, and they gave them all half stars. It's like,
I see this Gotsen scheme.
Yeah, we see through you and your Stendhal syndromes.
Mm-hmm. Next up, Paragraph Film Reviews. 1 star. Tokyo Story. 2 pensioners from the country visit their children in the big smoke of Tokyo. The plot is almost non-existent, as the plotting, inconsequential family drama, and I use that term very lightly, highlights the difference in values between the older pre-World War II generation and that of their children and grandchildren. To make matters even less exciting, the camera work is dull and for the most part completely static, paired with plain and flat editing and direction. After the first hour, it begins to feel more like an endurance test, and it definitely feels longer than its 136-minute runtime. In fairness, from a historic point of view, the film works best as a snapshot of Japanese life and a turning point in the culture. There's also a few touching scenes, like the old guys talking about losing kids in the war and how they all feel let down by their surviving children. As a period drama, this one is passable, but you just sit yearning for some plot or drama. 0% escapist and 0% cinematic. I don't think it's a completely terrible film, but that it relates to older generations. I feel like I'll watch this in 30 years' time and be devastated, but for now, it's more like Tokyo Bori.
Good one, brah. Good one. I feel like this is either a new account or something else, because most of their movies are rated on January 16th.
Yep.
This bad dude gave Surf Nazis Must Die a half a star.
So it's only half as good as Tokyo Story.
Only half, but also just Lars Van Trier movies, Antichrist and Melancholia, half a star, Tree of Life, half a star. But they only have 5 5-star movies, Jared. Can you guess? The Matrix, Die Hard, Infernal Affairs, Gladiator, and The Raid.
Holy shit.
I don't know what this Infernal Affairs is.
Oh, I know. That's the basis of The Departed.
Oh. Well, there you go.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I don't know. Let's see. From 2002, Chang Wing-yan, a young police officer, has been sent undercover.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So what are you going to do? They just gave Evil Toons 1.5 stars.
Oh, so it's better than Tokyo Story.
Apparently. Okay. I don't know. I've never seen Evil Toons, but maybe it is. Maybe.
Maybe. And finally, 1 star from Clayton Purdom.
Okay.
Right at the bottom, I think, there.
Gotcha.
This film is a true testament to the power of cinema to be extremely lame and boring.
Oh, gabagool. This person's kind of lame and boring. They only have 48 movies logged on my...
This is like the anti-Tokyo Story hit team coming together.
Yeah, it's strange, eh? Like, their favorite films are good films, like Dead Ringers, Paprika, Playtime, Cash. They just don't have a lot logged. They've only given 5 stars to F for Fake and Akira. And then their only half-star films are Rio, the animated film, The Secret Lives of Pets 2, and then something called 5 centimeters per second.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a anime.
Yeah, so just animated films that they really just don't like. And then Tokyo Story at 1 star. For whatever reason. They just gave Joker 2 stars.
Oh boy.
And Serpico and Alita Battle Angel 2 stars. Anyways.
I'm just skimming it on some other ones. A lot of people talk about how incredibly boring with irritating editing that made it look like they would say one line of dialogue then cut.
What do you mean? Like, what do you mean?
I respect this movie. I really do. It uses some of the most unique editing techniques I've ever seen, but they just don't work for me and make this movie kind of hard to watch.
What do you mean? Okay, so I was trying to find these people, but every single review I see here is like...
Oh, shit.
Everyone's...
Red Master with 1.5 star. I could compose a better image with my ass than Ozu putting the most effort.
Oh, Gabagool, check this out. You know what their favorite films are?
What?
Only God Forgives and Glass.
What the fuck? Jesus.
They just gave RoboCop 1.5 stars. And then High Life, that sperm movie, 4.5 stars.
So here's another one, 1.5 star. Dig Bick.
Dig Bick? I see him.
Dig Bick. Should have been boring. Wasn't that boring? Still boring, though. Cameras on the ground. Immersive. Hooray.
I don't know what this person's trying to do. They only have 30 films logged. They gave Empire Strikes Back 2 stars. Wolf of Wall. And then, like, it's just like Come and See. They just gave 1.5 stars. Like, there's no films on here. It's like, are you just starting or...
I feel like
no, these are from 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So abandoned.
Yeah. A lot of people. This writer, T. Hom, this writer was thoroughly bored by this classic piece of cinema. While some of the cinematography, but only some, was cool and beautiful, much was uninteresting. The characters were all archaic stereotypes that did not hold up. Also, and this was probably the worst part, all of the acting was on a strange gradient of terrible. The performances were awkwardly staged and just did not translate on screen.
Okay, I'm going to be mean for a minute, Jarrett.
Yeah.
This person is not a good person. Here's their bio. I'm a filmmaker. I am also a film watcher. I specialize in good films and even sometimes watch mediocre ones. Their favorite films also include Die Hard.
And he's got a lip ring.
He's got a lip ring. Here's some other 5-star films. A Quiet Place. The Fifth Element. Baby Driver. Contact, which is an okay movie, but 5 stars. It is not, my friend. Boyhood. The Usual Suspects. The Raid, again, apparently people who hate Tokyo Story just fucking love The Raid.
And they also love Die Hard.
And Die Hard,
Pulp
yeah.
Fiction, The Departed, and Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Straight off the top 250 of IMDb.
And their half-star films are just things with fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme, apparently. Oh, Greasy Strangler, half a star. That seems unfair.
There you go.
That seems unfair.
That tells you the whole story.
Uh-huh.
What do you think Corpse will think of Tokyo Story?
I bet Corpse would be okay with it. I mean, Corpse seems like a family guy. He's always talking about those family movies, like
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. That's a big family movie, or Greasy Strangler, for that matter. It's a father and son film. So, I think Corpse would be on board with this bad boy.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Well, That's it.
I think that's fine.
Yeah. After the break, RJ will begin to do penance for his wrong opinion about a movie once again, and the hate that he receives on YouTube will be just and well deserved, as always.
It's like I said, I'm fine with that. But it's like, it's the Jarrett scale. Me saying that I think the movie is good, and then people will attack me because I didn't think the movie was great.
Just do that seppuku thing right now. Get it over with.
The what?